So, so far we have discussed three parts of percentages and the fourth part, the 28th question we are discussing now. So it is about the right circular cone. Right circular cone means it will be like this. So at the bottom it will be area of circle. But if you multiply that area of circle with its height, then you will get the volume. You get volume of that particular cone. So once you get the volume of particular cone, based on its radius increase and height decrease, or height increase and radius decrease, the volume will change, but you can find it. Okay. So now we can solve it here. So what is he saying? R is decreased by 50%. R is decreased by 50%. Now it become, initially it was R, now it became R by 2. And H is, height is increased by 50%. Increased by 50% means, so H has become 1.5 times of H. Initially it was 100, now it is zero point 0.5 is added, 1.5 times H. 1.5 means 3 by 2. 3 by 2 times of H. So now you can change the formula pi r squared H into R has become R by 2. R by 2 whole square. Pi will be same. Into H will be 3 by 2 H. So if you take the numericals outside, so it will be 1 by 4 into 3 by 2 by R squared. How much time it became? Is nothing but 3 by 8 times. 3 by 8 times of initial volume. If I take it as V1, now this is V2. So V1 has become V2, and V2 is equal to 3 by 8 times of V1. So it means there is reduction in its volume. How much reduction? And initially it was 1, now it become 3 by 8. So reduced. So how can you find? 1 minus 3 by 8 divided by 1 into 100. But 8 minus 3 by 8 into 5 by 8 into, but we know 100 by 8 is nothing but 1 by 8 is nothing but what? 1 by 8 is 12.5%, I told you. So into 5 times. So 12 pi is a 60. 5 into 0.5, 2.5. 62.5 is the answer. 62.5%. So the option 2. So these questions which were given in CGL, previous CGL, SSC CGL question, SSC CGL questions these are. So standard questions will be given in SSC CGL. Next question is, if 60% of the students in a school are boys, The number of girls is 972. How many boys are there in the school? See what he is saying. This question number 60% of the students in a school are boys. 60% are boys. 60% are boys. 60% are boys. Then 30% will be girls. 60% are boys, 30% will be girls. But girls percentage is not given. That is not responding. 60% are boys means 40% are but girls number is given instead of giving their percentage. Based on boys percent, you can find girls percent. So 40% is what? 972. 40% is 972. 40% is 972. How many boys are there in the school? The question. Number of girls is given. So it is easy question. If 40% is 972, is 60%. 3 by 2 into 972. 2 1 job. 2 4 8 486 into 3. 1458. Sometimes some questions will be easy and some will be tough. Okay, next question. 65% the number is more than its 25% by 120. So it is question number 30. 65% of the number is more than its 25% by 120. So indirectly is saying 65% minus 25% is equal to 120. Means 35, 45, 55, means 40% is equals to 40% is 120. What is 20% of that number? Half of it, 60. It is that you can say. A candidate who scores 30% failed by 10 marks, while another candidate who scores 40% marks get 15 more than minimum pass marks. So the minimum marks required to pass are. See, there is a condition is saying one candidate is there. One candidate is there, scores plus 30% marks. What happens? Fails in the exam. And another candidate is there who scores 40% marks. Passes the exam, but more than pass marks, he will get 15 more. 15 extra marks he will get, then pass. So the minimum marks required to pass we need. So it means the pass marks are in between 30% and 40%. How much percentage it is, you need to find out. So there is a borderline. This is a pass mark. So above pass mark, 15 extra, one other another candidate B got. Okay? And another candidate we got 30%, but he failed the exam. He got 30%, but failed the exam. You can take them as A. One is 40, another is 50. So what is the difference? 10%. So because of this 10%, this 10% difference is nothing but difference in their marks. Okay. So how you can find it? This guy failed by 10 marks. This guy passed by 15 marks extra. So from both of them, it is 25. This 25 marks is nothing but 10%. 25 marks is 10%. 100% is 250 marks. Just multiply with 10 both sides. 250 marks is full marks. A got how many marks? 30% marks, but failed. What is 30% in it? Out of 250. 10% is 25. 30% is 70. But failed with 10 marks, add that 10. If you get 85, then you will pass. So pass marks will be 85. System is not responding properly. Numerator fraction is increased by 400%. The denominator of the fraction is increased by 150%. The resultant fraction is divided. Resultant fraction is divided. So what is the numerator of a fraction is increased by 400%. So any numerator by itself, it is suppose it is x by, but any numerator by itself it is 100%. Increase it by 400%. Now it will become 500%. So denominator is increased by itself it is 100, is increased by 100%. Now it became 250%. So when it becomes 250%, what is happening? So 500 times of x, 250 times of y is equals to 3 by 5. 0, 0 gets cancelled, 25 and the 25 to 0. So x by y will become 3 by. So x by y is 3 by 10. The original number is 3 by 10. So system is not responding properly. However, I'll clarify all the questions without any interruptions. In between, we may be stuck. Problem. It's okay. We have it is consisting of 250 questions. John answered 40% of the first 125 questions correctly. So there are 250 questions. Out of 125, one part and 125 that part. In it, 40% he answered correctly. A test consisting of 250 questions. John answered 40% of the first 25 questions. So I'll divide it 250 into two parts. 125 and 120. Out of this first 125, 40% correctly yes answered. He has answered 40% correctly. 40% of the first 125 answered correctly. What percent of the other 125 questions does she need to answer correctly for her grade on the entire exam to be 60%? So this we don't need to solve it out. Based on observation, we can answer this. First 125, she got 40% correct answers. And in the other 125, how much she need to answer correctly, but overall she should get how many marks? 60%. So there are total 250 questions in it. How can you solve it without pen? Can you think about it? Overall percentage is how much? 60%. 60% out of 20, how much? 10% is 25. If 10% is 25, 60%, how much? 20% is 50. 100 is 40%. 150 is 60%. So 150 marks you should get out of 250 as correct answers. So overall she should get 150 correct marks. In the first 125 itself, she got 40% marks. Correct answer. What is 40% in 125? 10% is 12.5. 25 marks is 20%. 50 marks is 40%. So she got 50 marks as correct answers in first 125. In first 125 itself, she got 50 correct answers. The next 125, how many marks she should write correctly? 100 more, because overall she should get 150. In first 125, she got 40% correct. It means 50 marks. Overall she should get 150. You know this 50 from 150? 100. 100 she should get in next 125. Okay. In first 125 she got 40 marks. She got 50 marks. And next 125 she got 100 marks as correct answers. Okay. So, but he's not asking the number of marks. What percentage of the other 125? So, in 125, 100 marks, how much percent? 100 by 125 into 100. Like that also you can say 100 by 125. See, in 125, 12.5 is 10%, 25 is 20%. If 25 is 20%, 40% is 50, 80% is 100. So she should get 80% marks as correct answers. Did you use pen? Don't have to do it. You have to calculate this thing in mind itself. Okay? If we use pen, how you can solve? See, in 25, she got 40% correct. 10% is how much? 12.5 is 10%. 12.5, 12.5, 25. 25 marks is 20%. 40% is nothing but 50 marks. So she corrected 50 in 125. But overall she should get 60% marks now. So into 50, 10% is 25. 20% is 50. 20% is 50. 60% is 150. So already she was getting 50 marks as correct answers in first 125. So she should get 100 more in next 125. 100 in 125, how much percent? 100 by 125 into 100 will give you the answer as 60% anyway, 80% anyway. 4 times 5 times 5, 22 into 4, 80%. You got an answer. Or else 12, 100%, the 100 marks in 12.5, 125. How can you say it's percentage? So in 125, 12.5 is 10%, we know. 12.5 is 10%. 12.5, 12.5, more 10%. So it means 20% is 25. So 80% is 100. You can do in any way on what your grip command percentages. Based on that, you can. It's a horrible day today. The system is not at all responding. We need to clean it up, remove the cache and all. But I don't want to waste my time today. In a college election, fought between two candidates. One candidate go in college elections. Fought between two candidates. One candidate go of the total valid votes. But how much? 55% of total valid votes. So out of 100%, one candidate got 55%. Means other candidate got 45%. It directly is telling. So 15% of the votes were invalid. So out of the total votes polled, 15% were invalid. So 15% were invalid means 85% were valid. So two, two parameters were given directly. So the total votes were 15,200. Total votes polled were 15,200. What is the number of valid votes the other candidate? See, here one candidate got 55% of the total valid votes. The other candidate got 45%, you can say, based on this. And not only this, 15% of the votes were invalid. So it means 85% were valid. The total votes were 15,200. The total votes were 15,200, out of which how many votes are valid? 85% valid. So it means 85 by 100 into 15,200 are the valid votes. In these valid votes, what is the number of valid votes the other candidate got? You need to find. How many percent other candidate got? Got 45% only. 45% of what? Total valid votes. So these are the total valid votes. In this total valid votes, we got 45%. So 45 by 100 into this. This is nothing but answer. These two goes, these two zeros. Next, which five twenties, five nines, five fours, five seventeens, four threes are 12, four eights. So you don't have to do it completely. It will end with a number. But so what is that number? 8 into 7, 6. 6 into 9, 4. 4. So it should end with 4. The answer is 514 because there is only one option which is ending with options. If you want, you can verify it. In a class of 60 students and 5 teachers, each student got sweets that are 20% of the total number of students. And each teacher got sweets that are 30% of the total number of students. You know the total number of students, that is 60. Based on that, you can calculate 20% and 30% and find out the number of sweets. So, and you can add them. That will give you how many sweets were there in total. See, how many students are there in the class? 60 students. What is 10%? Is 6. 20% is 12. Okay. So each student got sweets that are 20% of the total number. So it means each student got 12. So if one student got 12, how many students are there in total? 60. So 720 sweets got by students. And then each teacher got sweets 30%. So 30% of what? Total number of 10% is 6. 30% is 18. But how many teachers are there? 5 teachers are there. The 18 into 5 is 90. So 720 plus 920. 810. In a test consisting of 80 questions carrying 1 mark each, Ankita answered 65% of the first 40 questions correctly. What percent of the other 40 questions does she need to answer correctly to score 80% on the entire test? So this was done before also. As an aggregate, she should get 80%. 80% marks on the entire test. How many questions are there? Out of 80 questions, 10% is 8. So 80% is 8 into 8. It is 64. So it is 64. So in 64, overall she should get 64, but already she got 65% correcting 40 questions. So in 40 questions, 10% is 4. So 60% is 24 plus 2. 26 marks she got as correct in outproof in 40, first 40. So total she should get how many correct? 64. So remove 26 from 64, you will get 38. So 38 she should get from remaining 40. So it would be obviously 95% because 2% is 5%. So 38 will be 95%. Or spends 50% of his monthly income on household items, and out of the remaining he spends 25% on traveling, 30%. Okay. 50% of the monthly income is spending on household. The remaining is 50%. In this remaining, he is spending, how he is spending? 25 on traveling, 30 on entertainment, and 15 on shopping. So total 55, 60, 70, 80%. Okay. 25 plus 30, 55. 55, no, it is 70%. So it's, so it is 70%. Or spends 50% of his monthly income on household items, and after the remaining he spends 20. The 50% already spent, remaining is 50%. In this, he is spending 25 on traveling and 30 on entertainment and 15 on shopping. Total is spending 70% of 50%. Remaining he got 900 rupees. Remaining is nothing but 30% of 50% is equal to 900. So 30% of 50% is nothing but 5% is 10%. 30 is nothing but 15%. So if 15% is 900, what is his monthly income? See, 15% is 900. What is 100%? 15% is 900 means 10% is 600. 10% is 600. 100% is 6,000. Simple question. I'm stopping it because of the what I'm facing with the system. See the remaining things later.